Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Carain Yeung.
And I'm Edna. Here's a look at tonight's top stories.
Chief Executive Carrie Lam says Beijing supports her ban on Hong Kong National Party.
Justice Secretary backed Security Bureau's proposal to amend extradition laws.
And North Korean leader Kim Jong-un arrives in Hanoi for scheduled talks with the U.S.
Beijing has requested Chief Executive Carrie Lam submit a report detailing the SAR government's ban of the pro-independence National Party.
Lam denied this amounted to interference by Beijing. Chief Executive Carrie Lam called a press briefing today after she received a letter from Beijing in support of her government banning the National Party. In the letter, the central government voiced its support for the SAR government to outlaw the pro-independence party. The letter reiterated that Hong Kong has a constitutional responsibility to uphold national security, with the SAR being an inalienable part of China. It also stated that the chief executive was accountable to both the country and Hong Kong, and requested Lam submit a report regarding the ban. Lam called the letter a recognition of the SAR government's work by Beijing. She denied the letter amounted to interference from Beijing, adding that she had to submit reports to Beijing from time to time.
On this occasion, the Central People's Government asked that I submit a report on the process and related circumstances leading to a decision made in Hong Kong. Again, that is only legitimate and is a demonstration of the constitutional responsibility between myself as the Chief Executive and the Central People's Government.
Lam said she was inclined to make her report public, but she would have to seek legal advice first, as the National Party may challenge the ban with a judicial review. However, the chief executive would not say if more political parties would be outlawed.
If we are contemplating to invoke the society's ordinance, there is a process of the society's officer doing something. And as a chief executive, I can tell you, I don't get myself involved in the investigations of my law enforcement bodies. Otherwise, that would be very dangerous.
Beijing issued the letter through state-run media Xinhua immediately after Lam's briefing. The government's order to ban the National Party on national security grounds was gazetted in September. It was the first time the government had invoked the society's ordinance since the handover. Party co-founder Andy Chan filed an appeal to the Executive Council. He was informed last week that his appeal bid had failed.
Justice Secretary Teresa Zhang says she backs the government's efforts to amend the city's extradition laws, which will enable the transfer of suspects to Taiwan, Macau, or the mainland.
But she did not respond to Taiwan's strong opposition to the move by the Security Bureau, Riley Chan reports.
An alleged murder by a Hong Kong man in Taiwan last year prompted the SAR government to review the city's extradition laws. The Security Bureau proposed amendments that would allow suspects to be transferred to Taiwan, Macau, or the mainland. But the move drew immediate pushback from pan-democrat lawmakers. They believed the policy would be misused for political purposes. Justice Secretary Teresa Chang made her first comments on the matter today after returning to Hong Kong from a duty visit in Beijing. I hope we all understand that the proposed amendments can plug the loopholes in current legislation. It can prevent criminals from hiding in Hong Kong if we could transfer the fugitive to other jurisdictions according to law, Chang said. While the Justice Chief supported the changes, Taiwanese authorities have expressed their reservations. Several political groups and a prosecutor from the Ministry of Justice said that Taiwan would not negotiate any deals if it was based on Beijing's One China principle. Chang did not respond to Taiwan's opposition, but said the Security Bureau would listen to different opinions during the consultation period. Meanwhile, the Justice Secretary's popularity plunged to a historic low in a recent survey. This was after her department's decision not to prosecute former Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying over his deal with engineering firm UGL. Chang said she was aware of her slipping popularity and pledged to take on future tasks with a humble and professional attitude. Riley Shan, HKIBC.
The charge of access to a computer with criminal or dishonest intent should cover the use of computers, including traditional crimes committed with the help of the technology, the Court of Final Appeal heard today. Director of Public Prosecutions David Yeung made the argument at the city's top court. He urged the court to convict 4 primary school teachers who allegedly leaked interview questions using their smartphones in 2014. They were found not guilty in 2016, and the High Court upheld the ruling last year. The court said the defendants cannot be charged with the offense since they were using their own smartphones instead of a computer. But Yeung said the offenses should cover anybody's phones, including the defendants' own devices, as the objective was to prevent the improper use of a computer that could lead to a crime. The 5-judge panel has adjourned the ruling.
Police are investigating an alleged murder-suicide of a family in Yeung.
They found 3 bodies inside a flat last night, including a 7-year-old boy. A suicide note was discovered by police, which indicated the family was in financial hardship. More from Riley Chen.
Police were called to Western Garden Estate in Yeung at around 8:25 p.m. last night by a foreign domestic helper, who said she smelled an odd odor coming from the flat she worked in. After returning to the unit, the helper suspected there was a gas leak. Firefighters also arrived at the scene and forced open the flat's door. They made a grisly discovery inside. They found the bodies of a 42-year-old father, his 40-year-old wife, and their 7-year-old son on a bed in the bedroom. Burnt charcoal was also found in the room. Chief Inspector Hong Kit-ha said there was a suicide note that indicated the family was in financial hardship. Drugs were found on a table in the living room. Police believed the couple first struck their